Hello everyone. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment saying where you're from and when you watched. That way, YouTube will continue to show you stories like this. Now, let's get started. Asterisk, there were only two of us trudging through the pitch-black cellar. But then, in a flash, I realized that the scenery around us had changed. There were no more damp stone walls, no more dripping blood rain, but a cold, sparse forest. The night sky was covered, the wind blew fiercely, rustling the leaves. I was stunned to realize that my remaining friend and I were standing in the middle of an empty field, where there was a half-burning fire, giving the feeling of a camping trip in the middle of the forest. But we had never been here before, nor did we bring a tent or firewood. The flickering flames cast shadows on the skinny tree trunks, stretching down to the ground like broken arms. In the distance, I heard giggling and children's voices echoing. In the middle of the forest night, we shivered, approaching the fire, and realized there was an old backpack next to us. Inside were not ordinary belongings, but identical items of the friends who had disappeared. Kai's small knife, Wang's notebook, the necklace I always wore. All were stained with dried blood. My friend burst into tears, and I could only hold the diary tightly to my chest as if clinging to the last bit of reality. Then from the deep forest, footsteps echoed, slow but sure. We immediately put out the fire, but at that moment, darkness fell, heavy as if someone had covered our eyes with a black cloth. In the darkness, rows of red eyes glowed, dozens, then hundreds of eyes watching us. Laughter and wind whistled from all directions, mixed with long wolf-like howls, but I knew they were not animals. My friend trembled and whispered that he heard calls, the familiar voices of his family and friends who had died. He ran into the darkness, despite my holding on. I only had time to see his arm being dragged into the dark forest, disappearing without a trace. Now I was alone, crouching in the middle of the clearing, surrounded by footsteps, laughter, and the ghostly flames hanging in the air. I knew I had to face these things head-on, or I would never escape. But I also knew that every step forward was a step closer to the abyss of madness. I trembled as I wrote the last entry for today in my diary, because I felt a cold hand on my shoulder from behind. Stay tuned for episode 6 of Haunted Room, Haunted.